and talk about some big global stories that we've been tracking for you this morning. And let's start with what I briefly touched upon, but let's look at it in detail then. Now, the Fed Reserve's key measure of inflation, the core personal consumption expenditure price index, rose by 0.4% last month, which was in line with economist expectations. The core PCE, which excludes food and energy, has climbed by 2.8% over the last year. The benign inflation data is expected to boost hopes of Fed rate cuts in the June monetary policy meeting. Meanwhile, clamor for a rate cut this year continues as Fed Reserve officials express cautious optimism about the economy. San Francisco Fed President Daly emphasizes avoiding prolonged low rates until achieving the 2% inflation target that the Fed has set for the United States. She says there is no imminent risk of the economy faltering. Meanwhile, Chicago Fed President Goolsbee urges careful interpretation of January PCE data, anticipating disinflation from supply chain normalization. Atlanta's Bostic calls for ongoing non-bank risk assessment, and despite acknowledging risks, he sees the economy on a positive trajectory and hints at easing this summer. But with the US market on a tear, investors have been concerned if we are entering a bubble zone. Billionaire investor Ray Dalio is dismissing those fears and saying it is still not in a speculative bubble. The founder of Bridgewater, one of the world's largest hedge funds, analyzed the market based on his bubble criteria, which includes valuation, sentiment, new buyers, and unsustainable conditions. However, he argued that the Magnificent Seven, the biggest tech giants, look a bit frothy at the moment but are not in a full-on bubble. Well, now let's shift focus and talk about some corporate news coming in from overseas. After Nvidia, Dell Technologies is riding on an AI high. Shares surged by 20% after the company beat analyst expectations with a significant margin, attributing its success to the soaring demand for AI-powered servers. While its revenue fell by 11% on a year-on-year basis, net income surged almost 90%. Chief Operating Officer said that their strong AI-optimized server momentum continues, with orders increasing nearly 40% sequentially and backlog nearly doubling. Well, and let's shift focus to the world of entertainment and pop, because these pop stars have been credited with single-handedly lifting economies, so this may not come as a surprise. But movie theatre major AMC is thanking Taylor Swift and Beyoncé for the earnings beat that they delivered in the fourth quarter. Remember, Swift and Beyoncé both released highly anticipated concert movies in 2023. A legend of Swifties turned out in droves, ensuring that every screening feels like an intimate concert experience. The pop sensation's film not only captivated her audience but also contributed significantly to AMC's bottom line. Their films made up for 1/9 of the company's revenue during the entire quarter. And well, let's shift focus to some geopolitical news. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned NATO countries as they have risk of provoking a nuclear war if they send troops to fight in Ukraine. These comments appear to be a direct response to French President Emmanuel Macron's suggestion earlier this week that European heads of state and Western officials who had met in Paris and had talked about the possibility of sending ground troops into Ukraine. Well, no respite is likely to be seen in the Israel-Gaza conflict as more than 100 Palestinians were shot dead and injured near the Gaza city as they waited for an aid delivery. Although Israel blamed the deaths, stating victims had been trampled. Remember, this is the biggest civilian loss seen in weeks. While Hamas said the incident could jeopardize talks in Qatar aimed at securing a ceasefire and the release of Israeli hostages it is holding.